Yeah. That's crazy.
That's silly.
What
That's ridiculous. Come on, you guys.
What should we watch while we smoke and chill?
I don't know. I'm excited about this strawberry diesel, though.
Strawberry diesel?
Are we live on Twitch?
We are. We're live on Twitch.
That's crazy.
I don't even know what the hell this is. I don't know if and when anything's getting cut in or out or whatever. I just figured we could smoke and watch something because that was fun last time.
That was fun. That was nice. I mean, I'm always down to fucking watch something. I just had my hair up all messy because I was cooking, and now I have my hair down all messy because I'm a monster.
These things happen.
I'm a monster.
Don't look at me.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, can you reach these scissors? They're on the thing right next to you. Magic.
I love you.
Long ass magic. Man, you've been all over that song lately.
I got a bunch of songs stuck in my head that just can't go nowhere. They just ain't going nowhere.
Oh.
Oh yeah?
Some loose greens fell onto my lap.
From the packaging?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. 10-minute Power Hour podcast. That's cute.
Aw. What does that even mean? They're just hanging out?
I think they are just hanging out.
That's adorable and
A
tragic.
sommelier searches for the perfect wine, but I hear a different calling, the call of a shimmer of cream cheese. For I am a sommelier.
My
I
hero.
practice my craft at Philadelphia. Here we use only the freshest milk. That one, go.
The Grumps Presents.
This is their 10-minute Power Hour for the week, but instead of a Power Hour, it's just going to be them talking.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
It's animated.
This is a special episode of whatever this is.
It's the old set.
A special
Because, as you
episode
know,
of whatever this is.
On the Grumps, we air the 10-minute Power Hour every Monday. We backstocked quite a few, and now we're running low. This is going to go on for a lot longer, so we have to
yum.
some stuff put up in that time slot, and we were delighted to come up with the idea of doing a simple podcast.
Ooh, that's a diesel
Yeah,
for sure.
you know, I mean, people want us
Gassy.
to be making stuff. I mean, we
Yeah,
wanna
it
be
is.
making
It's
stuff.
got that, like,
It's
kerosene
good
smell.
for us to
Yeah.
feel connected
Like sour, strong.
to you all by just coming out and chatting. for a
This
little
one had
bit.
a warning on the
Aaron
like
and I,
description.
you
It
know,
was
we
like,
quarantined
new users, be
individually.
careful. This will fuck your shit
Yeah,
up.
this one is incredibly hyperactive.
outside
Whatever,
of our significant
psychoactive.
others, we're the only human beings.
No, this was the
that
one that was
we've
like,
seen for
that
a
was the
very long
hellfire.
time.
Yeah.
This is the one that's like, be careful if you're new because this one hits hard and fast. Like, oh jeez.
Oh, shit. Right.
Good.
Jon Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Our main story tonight concerns sports, the thing O.J. Simpson used to be famous for. The coronavirus has taken its toll on all manner of industries, but the world
I
of
have
sports was
tingles.
among those hit hardest, earliest, and perhaps
Good
most
up.
visible.
Is he good?
Because just think back to the day that you first realised our lives were going to fundamentally change for a while. For many, it was when this happened.
2 days before he tested positive for coronavirus, Utah Jazz All-Star Rudy Gobert did this to reporters' microphones in an interview. And this morning, the NBA suspending the rest of its season. The unprecedented move shocking everyone, including Dallas Mavs owner Mark Cuban.
Just think about how astonishing something has to be to shock Mark Cuban. Keep in mind, he's one of the sharks on Shark Tank. He's been pitched businesses like Rent-A-Goat, a service that rents out goats to eat overgrown shrubs, Squirrel Boss, a bird feeder that gives
I love
electric
that
shocks to squirrels, and Elephant's Chat, a literal stuffed elephant that you put in the room to signal that there's something uncomfortable to talk about. Mark Cuban has already already seen the most jaw-dropping, inconceivable things this world has to offer. And it wasn't just basketball vanishing suddenly. Since then, the NHL has suspended its season. Major League Baseball pushed back its opening day to an unknown date. International Soccer League suspended games, and the Olympics will move to next summer. And as shocking as these cancellations seemed at the time, the truth is, there was really no choice. Sporting events with large crowds packed together are the exact opposite of social distancing, and they're a nightmare scenario during a pandemic.
Seriously, what we
This
did not
Champions League match in Milan in February was later likened to a biological bomb after it was linked to one of the deadliest outbreaks.
Christ.
But though sports shutting down was emphatically the right thing to do, people have increasingly been asking when they can return, and few have asked louder than this guy.
I hope football can start. And I told them, I think you might be able to. They may very well be able to.
Told
I hope
them?
they can
Told
start. And I hope they can
football?
start
What
with
the fuck
people
are
in
you
the
talking
stands.
about?
The fans want to be back too. You know, they want to see basketball and baseball and football and hockey. They want to see their sports. We have to get
I
our
hate
sports
you.
back. I'm tired of watching baseball
I-
games that are 14 years old. But I haven't actually had too much time to watch. I would say maybe I watch one batter and then I get back to work.
Okay, but here's the thing. We actually asked some experts about that, and it turns out that when the country's in the middle of a pandemic that's killing many thousands of Americans every single week, the correct number of batters from 2006 for the president to be watching is actually fucking 0. But look, he's not entirely wrong there. The lack of sports is an emotional blow to a lot of people, and it's not just emotional, it's also financial. By one estimate, the sudden disappearance of sports will erase at least $12 billion in revenues and hundreds of thousands of jobs in this country alone. And those jobs aren't just the high-paid athletes playing the games. They also include the many people who count on sporting events for employment, like these two Philadelphia stadium workers.
Marvin Spratley made $14 an hour as a part-time grill cook for nearly 2 years at Sixers, Flyers, and Eagles games.
It's a lot of stress on me. A lot of stress. Because I got bills piling up, baby Louie's Pampers.
Laisha Johnson is a maintenance worker at Phillies games.
I have food on the table now. I'm making it right at this moment. But I don't know what tomorrow may bring.
Yeah, that's really difficult. And it's worth remembering that although Philadelphia sports fans are a horde of inhuman monsters who deserve neither sympathy nor understanding, the people paid to tend to those monsters really depend on their monster money. So given that the absence of sport has caused such pain, we thought tonight we'd take a look at what sports have become in the age of coronavirus and what a path back for them might look like. And first, let me say that the sports world has been doing some truly great things during this pandemic. Teams and athletes have been donating and raising money for charity, with some even selling branded face masks for coronavirus-related causes. And despite not being able to play, teams have found ways to stay engaged with their fans online while modelling social distancing. The Pittsburgh Pirates Parrot posted an at-home workout video. The Chicago Blackhawks mascot, Tommy Hawk, vacuumed his apartment. And Gritty once again blew them all away without even trying.
That's because Gritty is the anti-fascist icon of a fucking generation.
And a badass beer pong player, apparently.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what's more amazing
That's
there.
amazing.
Gritty's incredible hand-eye coordination, the fact he seems to live in an entirely empty apartment, or the discovery that his body occasionally squeaks when it moves, presumably because, evolutionarily speaking, Gritty's closest relative is a used dog toy. And it's not just mascots. Athletes have been showing how they're trying to work from home, which has not always been easy for them. For instance, reigning NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo told reporters last month that he's been unable to practice because he doesn't have a hoop at his house. Others have had to get pretty creative to continue their training, whether it's an Olympic swimmer training in a kiddie pool with a bungee cord, an Olympic runner creating makeshift treadmills in a bathtub with palm oil, an Olympic rock climber using her home as a climbing gym, or Brandon Kine of the Orioles squatting his dog, who seems utterly delighted by the situation. But not every at-home training session goes smoothly, as Dodgers pitcher Joe Kelly recently discovered.
Wondering how quarantine's going? Joe's working on a change-up. Yeah.
Honestly, if I was Joe Kelly's wife, I'd never get that window fixed, and I'd just make him explain what happened every time someone came over. Oh, that window, Joe, do you want to tell that story? Because I kind of forget some of the details, like how many millions of dollars you've been paid for your ability to throw a baseball accurately, how big the net was, and how many feet you missed it by. Just go ahead and tell the story while I pull up the video. As for broadcasters who are reliant on live audience, they are now in a truly desperate situation. While ESPN moved up their 10-part Michael Jordan documentary, they've otherwise been strapped for content, airing video game versions of baseball and basketball, with SportsCenter at one point actually tweeting out this.
Dear God, it's so bad. It's like, at that point, this isn't slapping, y'all. This is just blunt force trauma with a flat palm, yeah. Hey, though. Hey, you gotta be big.
You might be wondering, what the fuck did I just see?
Yeah.
Apparently, that came from a Russian show called Stone Faces, where contestants slap each other as hard as they can. And this particular guy is a renowned competitive slapper whose real name doesn't matter because his nickname is Dumpling, which is just an outstanding name for that man. And at this point, I don't need to know anything else. I'm all in on competitive slapping. Just tell me what channel to subscribe to in order to watch it and where to order my dumpling jersey. So, we are all reaching the point of desperation, where we're honestly willing to watch large men slap each other in a windowless room. There is clearly a desire to restart sporting events. The question, though, isn't just why sports should
Which, I mean, hey, thank you for being
how
here.
that can safely happen, because to do it responsibly would be a mammoth undertaking. To do it irresponsibly, however, turns out to be pretty easy. The state of Florida early on designated professional sports and media production with a national audience as an essential service, so long as it's closed to the general public. So the WWE has continued staging shows in Florida, holding matches in front of empty chairs. But that requires a lot more people than just those two wrestlers. You need production crews working together in close proximity. And while the WWE maintains its safety measures are as comprehensive as they can possibly be, one employee wrote an anonymous letter to a Florida county commissioner asking them to shut the tapings down because, despite sanitary precautions, we cannot maintain social distancing and have to touch other people. But it's easy to see why CEO Vince McMahon doesn't mind them taking that risk. As he told investors on a recent earnings call, viewers want to see new matches.
Also, wasn't he just fucking welcomed into the White House?
Or something.
Him and fucking what's his name from the UFC were both fucking, like, photographed with Trump. Like, hey, we're all fucking homies right now.
Okay, well first, I would argue that the risks of creating content the way that you are seem to outweigh the benefits right now. And second, no one on that call registered your point there, because you just said stimulating, strongmen, underwear, and crucially, driver, all in the same sentence. At which point, everyone's minds turned immediately to getting absolutely bone-crushed by Adam Driver. Choke slam me to hell, you nasty shed. Jam your mandible claw down my throat, you irredeemable steer. Quick side note here. A lot of you might well be wondering where I'm going with this bit. If you're anything like my staff, you're asking questions like, is this sexual or is it violent? And you're then unsatisfied when the answer comes back, yes. Like my wife, you might be asking, should I be worried about this? With your concern only growing when the answer is, only if you want to be. And what about Adam Driver himself? Is he bothered by this continued sexualization? He seems like a fairly private guy who's generally uncomfortable with attention, making what I'm doing possibly some form of harassment. He might actually have pretty good grounds to have me reprimanded legally, to which I say, do it. Slap a restraining order on me, you forlorn block. Beg me to stop, you menacing obstacle. WWE. Their competitor AEW is also taking shows in Florida, and the UFC
basically
just
all
last
of
week
this
started
is for
hosting
that.
matches
That's
in
the best
Jacksonville.
ever.
While they couldn't fly in international fighters,
I'm just here for the
their
Adam
president
Driver.
an insane workaround.
Hate me, big man.
Island is a real thing. It's really happening. The infrastructure is being built right now on the island. I'm ready to go.
Yes, the UFC is apparently building a facility on a private island that they're calling Fight Island. Now, is that a clever name? No. Is it the perfect name?
Yes.
Because it's the first thought an idiot would have if they wanted to name a private island where fights happen. Now, it could have called it Brawlhamas, or Puerto Ruckus, or Aui Maui, or Slam Miguel, but he didn't. He didn't do that, and he didn't even go with the obvious name for an island where you stage UFC fights, which is simply UFC. Look at me, Dana.
Oh.
Why didn't you just call it UFC? It's perfect.
It is.
But clearly, staging events is risky at the moment. Just the day before last weekend's UFC event, a fighter had to pull out after he and two of his cornermen tested positive, underscoring the fact that if you want to come back completely without risk, that's just not possible right now. And yet, many sports organisations are feeling real pressure to ignore that risk, especially college sports, where some sports' athletic programs rely heavily on revenue from football. And while you would hope the coaches would talk about the trade-offs of risk and safety with some tact, Oklahoma State football coach Mike Gundy seemed completely comfortable saying the quiet parts loud.
In my opinion, if we have to bring our players back, test them, they're in good shape, they're all 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, they're healthy. A lot of them can fight it off with their natural body, the antibodies and build-up they have. We need to continue to budget and run money through the state of Oklahoma.
Jesus Christ! I don't know whose medical advice is worth the least in the middle of a pandemic, but guy who doesn't mind unpaid college kids contracting a potentially deadly disease so everyone else can make millions is right down near the bottom,
Yeah,
along with the
pretty
advice
fucked
of
up, my
funeral
guy.
parlour magnate and the coronavirus wearing a fake mustache. Andy later apologised for those comments, but there was a real honesty to what he said.
Yeah, he was.
Profit is a powerful motivator here, especially for some team owners who won't be the ones taking the risks. And it's why major sports like baseball and football are so eagerly pursuing plans to come back. But assuming that you can't just stage all events in Jacksonville or on some stupidly named island somewhere, how do you do it in the safest possible way? Well, for what it's worth, Anthony Fauci has outlined how that could happen.
There's a way of doing that. Nobody comes to the stadium. Put them in big hotels, wherever you want to play. Keep them very well surveilled, namely a surveillance, but have them tested like every week and make sure they don't wind up infecting each other or their family, and just let them play the season out.
Yeah, you just isolate everyone involved and test the hell out of them, which intuitively seems like it might work. After all, we already have a show where a bunch of people with incredible bodies get monitored all day to make sure that they don't touch each other. It's called Too Hot to Handle, and it is perfect. One of the hot idiots proposed to one of the other hot idiots with a ring pop. And if you haven't watched this show and you're still complaining about being starved for content, you're out of your fucking mind.
Thanks,
And
John.
ideas along the
I'll
lines
look into
of
it.
what
It looks
Fauci just
horrendous.
proposed, so-called bubble leagues, have been floated for multiple sports. Major League Baseball, for instance, was at one point reportedly discussing plans to play all of their games in Arizona. And on its face, that seems simple. You just seclude the teams and you have them play with no fans. But when you think about that for more than a second, it all becomes much, much more complicated because, of course, you wouldn't just be isolating players. You'd be doing that for coaching staff, team physicians, trainers, umpires, clubhouse attendants, bus drivers, camera crews, and hotel staff, to name just a few. By one estimate, even a bubble league would require nearly 10,000 people, all of whom would need constant testing. And there is a key distinction here, because while pro wrestlers, UFC fighters, and college athletes have no union, those in major pro sports do, and therefore they have significant negotiating power. So if you want them to isolate themselves from their families and put their lives at risk, you need their agreement. And some big names, like the Angels' Mike Trout, still have some significant concerns.
What are you going to do with family members? My wife is pregnant. What am I going to do when she goes into labor? Am I going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks after I come back? Because, obviously I can't miss that, birth of my first child.
Yeah, he's right. The league should
And that
not
shit takes
ask anyone
balls
to
in
miss the
fucking,
birth of
in
their
pro
first child.
sports to
That is a
actually be like, hey,
magic
no, I
moment.
have to put my fucking
Second
family
child,
first.
that's
Because you know that
negotiable.
there's plenty of motherfuckers in that league that are going to be like,
They're gonna give him so much shit.
oh, you care about your wife and child. Like,
This
yeah.
And after pushback from multiple players, Major League Baseball has walked away from the Arizona idea, with an official even saying earlier this month, I would be lying if we were to say we have a good idea they're all degrees of bad. And that is true
Very
of
honest.
so many
It's
current
literally
proposals
just risk
for
versus
sports to
reward
come
at this
back.
point.
The
That's
second
why
you start
the
reading the
only
details
reason
of
we're
any
leaving
plan,
the house is
it
because we need
automatically becomes
supplies.
ridiculous. The
You have
MLB's
to
new
go
idea is
risk
to play
versus
an
reward, and
abbreviated
if the
season
reward is
in
not
as many
survival,
empty
then
home
think about
ballparks as possible. But
Yeah.
teams would still have to travel to those, meaning they're not being quarantined. And for a sense of just how easy it is for something to go wrong, look at Germany. That country has handled this pandemic much, much better, and they are in a very, very different situation than we are in the US, and that enabled their soccer league to actually come back this weekend, employing a kind of bubble league approach, without fans and with all team personnel quarantined in a hotel. But 2 players have already tested positive, forcing their entire team to isolate for 14 days, and 1 top coach missed the first game after he left the hotel to buy toothpaste and now can't rejoin his team until he has 2 negative tests. And that shows just how difficult it is to do any of this effectively. And look, I will own the fact, I really want sports to come back. There is no doubt that they have the ability to inspire. One of the things that sport does best is to bring people together in times of crisis, like when the Yankees resumed playing after 9/11. Unfortunately, though, bringing people together is the exact thing we should not be doing right now. And while sport was genuinely helpful at the start of this crisis in showing us how serious this virus was, if it comes back too soon and irresponsibly, it won't be an inspiration, it'll be a cautionary tale. So, as hard as it is to hear, we might need a little more time to make sure that we get this right, phasing sports back in slowly, with tailored approaches that take into account each sport's level of contact and robust systems of testing and tracing. And I know that there is currently an absence in people's lives, so ideally what you'd want is something that could fill that gap for a while, until sports can return. Something with an existing infrastructure, a schedule of heart-pounding events, a passionate fan base, and no human contact. Something to which I'm obviously building.
If you've been on Twitter lately, you may have seen this viral video.
Marbles in the blocks, and they're off. It's a neck and neck and neck race up there at the front. Oh, it actually kind of hits the divider. The attenuator slows him down, and he falls back into 3rd place, now into the clutches of Deep Ocean. So it's Reflector out front, and now Tarantula takes the lead.
Oh, fuck yes. Let me introduce you to Jelle's Marble Runs. They're based in the Netherlands, and they are a competitive marble racing league that is, to put it mildly, absolutely fantastic. They upload races to this YouTube channel on a regular basis, and nobody to whom we have shown this, including non-sports fans, has not ended up wanting to watch more. There are entire racetracks with marbles as fans, plus a marble tournament with 16 different events featuring relays, watercourses, and obstacles. And there are also backstories for the marbles involved, and some truly passionate fans.
20,000 people from around the world tuned in live to watch last week's race, and Jelle's Marble Runs YouTube channel has millions of views.
There are big fan bases built up, not just for the teams, but for the individual marbles. And when one isn't performing very well in the season, you're going to hear about it. And they will let that marble know. They can pick up their game a little bit.
Now, on the one hand, that's amazing. I love it. On the other hand, the marbles don't really need fans to tell them when they're off their game. I mean, take a look at the Midnight Wisps. They came in 4th in their debut season, just missing the podium. But did they settle for that? No, they didn't. They came back the next year and they won it all. They used their shortcomings as motivation to come back even stronger. Whichever adjective is best for marbles. The point is, this isn't just a YouTube distraction. It's a beautiful, competitive event, and the world needs those more than ever right now. This year's Marble League tournament is actually due to start next month. Unfortunately, with times being hard, the league was struggling for money, even tweeting, "To make the Marble League, we need sponsors, a head sponsor and some smaller sponsors." So this beautiful thing is in danger of going away just when we need it the most. Or rather, it was in danger because it turns out they're not actually looking for a sponsor anymore. And the reason I know that is you are looking at the new sole sponsor of the upcoming Marble League tournament. That is right. We are proudly sponsoring all 16 events over the next few months. But wait, because there is a twist here. In addition to our sponsorship, the winner of each event will get $5,000 donated to a food bank in their name. Whether that name is the Raspberry Racers, the Green Ducks, the Hazers, or even the Oceanics, although frankly, they're going to need a ton of reorganisation in the locker room because they were a fucking mess last year. And what's more, at the end of the entire tournament, the overall winner will get a $20,000 donation made in their marble team's name to the International Rescue Committee. It is the only way that we could think of making what these guys are doing even better. So please, check this out.
That's so rad.
Marble Runs and Last Week Tonight present.
Down they come, Hazers to the lead. Green Ducks into the water. Now they have a lot of trouble moving through those quick chicanes to start things off. And the Savage Speeders keep their momentum up. They fall into the final funnel. Raspberry Racers trying to fight for gold.
The sports event of the summer.
The race person.
I love it.
Unbelievable. He was knocked off. Fight to go into the fan section. Raspberry Racers, they take the lead. Neck and neck, all four finish line in sight. Who's going to get it?
With a photo finish.
Marble League 20.
That's so awesome.
June
I would
21st.
get so hyped
This
about
one's
that.
I'm probably gonna watch some of that today
Oh my
for
god.
sure. Because wow, and there it is.
June 2020
Yep.
is this big tournament. So
Yep. We'll be ready. I mean, we'll be here.
coming up here in a
Probably.
few days. Of course, we're gonna be here because where the fuck else are we gonna be?
Because we're responsible human beings.
Yeah, because we give a fuck
And that's
about
all it takes.
others
You
for
know,
2 seconds.
the thing that makes me insane is that it's literally all it takes.
Yeah.
It's like you just have to turn it off. You have to turn off the consumerism, turn off the drive to push forward, the drive to make something happen. Because I realized I was having this same thing. In fact, this is part of it. Like recording anything it's always just part of. I want to document things because I know that eventually I'm not going to be here, and I want this to be around after me. But it's insane to me how hard it is for people to just turn that drive off for however many days or months or years it takes.
Even if it means directly saving lives. Like, we had the first COVID death in our community yesterday, and it was a 97-year-old person in otherwise perfect health. And which is firstly just a shitty way to finally go. Like at 97 years old, you lived all that time, we're still perfectly healthy, and then to go that way, is so fucked up.
Yeah.
4 other people in the assisted living facility that she lived in are also sick, and a 5th person, one of the staff, is also sick.
Yeah.
It's about to hit our community really, really hard,
and also
we don't want to contribute to that.
Even just now, just thinking about kind of my reaction of hearing that someone that was in their 90s died of it, it's so fucking cold and callous of us to be like, oh, well, I mean, old people or people that are immunocompromised,
And that's exactly what people are saying all over, of course, on Loco and shit.
And that's what that shit was, too, is that dude was like, he's in his 20s, the players are all in their 20s, so they can just get it. They'll probably just be fine, it's more than just them anyway, first of all. It's also their families and everybody that their family interacts with.
Also, yeah, that's cool. Old people and sick people aren't just disposable. They're not just
Yeah.
What? That's insane.
Yeah. It's definitely weird that people are so callous about mass death when it becomes inconvenient. Because it's totally, it's bad, and we should stand up against anything that would kill a whole lot of people, unless it stops us from doing anything that's...
Right, unless it's mildly inconvenient for us, and then fuck that noise.
Because at this point, literally, all you have to do is sit at home and, watch Netflix, listen to the radio.
People have legitimately just decided this is over because they're bored.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me. It's so... We were at Walmart yesterday, and the number of people who fundamentally misunderstand how a fucking mask works, it was, there was tons of people with it, down off their nose. There was one guy that had his, folded all the way up, so it was, just covering his nose.
Mm-hmm.
His whole mouth was out.
Yeah.
There was another person.
The guy behind us had it down under his chin the whole time. And an employee walked by and even said, you have to have your mask on. And he pulled it up for a second and then just pulled it right back down. Don't wear it if you're just going to do this.
Why? What? And then the person in front of us who kept taking her mask off to drink water, like, in line with everybody.
Drinking water, like, in public, that's the thing, too, is, like, we got Monsters and shit, and I made a point, like, I bought a pack of fucking room temperature Monsters off the shelf, and because I've been dying for them. And then I bought a cold one because I wanted to drink it that day. And I fucking still was like, I'm not going to drink this until I can get it home, disinfect the can, rinse all the disinfectant off, and, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to do this kind of shit. So the idea of just popping something open and fucking drinking it in the middle of public without, like... You know how many people have probably touched that shit? Like,
Breathed on it, touched it, like, been near you. You're breathing while you're drinking, and also, like, off-gassing while you're drinking. You're endangering other people around you.
And people say, like, oh, well, you're not, you weren't grossed out by that before. Like, yeah, we were grossed out by that before, but it wasn't going to kill us, so it was like, whatever. Like, I don't care about fucking getting someone else to spit in their mouth. Yeah.
Like, gross is fine. Deadly is not fine.
Like, there's a difference.
Well, like, people are keeping, like, like, how do they put it? Come on, brain. It's good weed.
It is really good weed.
What did I just say? What were we just talking about?
The people with the masks and the people that are bored, that are just like, this is over.
They just don't understand why to wear it, comparing it to something stupid. What were they comparing it to?
Oh.
It was something like...
I mean, all I know is when I got in line behind, like, with you, the lady was like, my daughter says that... What did she say? She was like, my daughter says that...
It'll be gone in 2 weeks, and...
In a few weeks, but we're going to have to wear the masks for, like, a year and a half, which is like...
What?
Where does that logic even pan out in your brain? That we're going to have no more virus in 2 weeks, but still the mask... Like, why would we still have the mask if the virus? What?
I don't even know.
And this is the same lady that kept like, oh, I'm just getting hot. And she'd pull it down and she's like, I need water. And just like, and I'm like, you're in line at Walmart, lady.
God.
Like, so many people are walking
It's
by.
so gross. You know what someone needs to invent, or we need to figure out, is an antiviral disinfectant that is also edible.
Yeah. Yes, you can
Something that you can wipe down food with, like, and then eat it.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like, I was thinking about this. Okay, so here's yet another reason why capitalism is fucking stupid in the long term. In the short term, it works out great, like for a minute. But like, it's like when something is just off balance on one side, the more it rotates, like the more off kilter it gets.
You needed to repair trade disparity, and that's it.
Yeah. But I was thinking about this. So, packaging is ending up biting us in the ass, like in this crazy way. Like the way that we have packaged our world, if we still used glass, mostly, everything would be totally different. But we don't.
Yes.
It's everything is disposable. Everything is meant to be thrown away.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we're like wiping down cardboard with bleach and stuff. Like, that's not probably, like, ideal. It's probably not great.
Yeah.
But it is what we have to do.
There was another thought I had when I was in line. I wanted to reach into my pocket and grab my phone, and I, resisted, because you really shouldn't be grabbing your phone in public right now, because your hands, y'all, your hands. Hi.
Your hands can kill you.
But I was, did you hear, while you were doing the money thing, the lady behind you with the bathing suit, did you hear that?
No.
They were like, you can't, they were like, they're not going to let you do the bathing suit thing, right? You heard that part? As she was walking away pissed, she was like, they're not going to let you return that bathing suit, by the way.
Oh, to the person behind
Yeah, because they're not taking cloth items. Of course they're not. They're not taking anything that can't be disinfected immediately.
Yeah.
So the lady behind us says, oh, it's cool, I'll just put this one back and grab another one. And someone was like, oh, they're not doing exchanges. And she's like, I don't give a fuck, because you can steal like $800 worth of shit. I'm like, then steal it, but don't fucking put your nasty shit back. What the fuck?
Like, what do you
steal all you want. Fucking steal. But
totally. Hell yeah.
Holy shit.
Also, but yeah, why would you stand here in line and announce that's what you're doing, and then, like, put your gross-ass virus-covered shit back on the shelf?
Also, like, if you really feel that strongly about it, that you need a different size bathing suit right now from Walmart, go steal it. Go steal it. But don't fucking put your old one back. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Give it away, or fucking wash it and leave it on the sidewalk for somebody, or
something,
and
anything.
then get yourself a new one, cause like fuck it, but like don't endanger other people and then like stand there and announce what you're doing like a weirdo. Like
also, this was the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Just to make a scene.
We got our N95 like filter things in the mask in the mail. We got these masks from a company that sell like biking. If you look, like you can find them. You can find masks that slot in N95 filters, and we only have a couple filters, but like it was comforting.
Each one lasts on a bike
like a few weeks.
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Which
it
lasts more than that.
And they do seem like they're not that hard to make. Actually, to be honest, it's just that neoprene, whatever the fuck that shit is, but it's really comforting to have, and it does about as much outward protection as a regular mask. Like our breath is still escaping, but only in the same muffled way that it does from a fabric mask. But I don't know. I was talking. I basically posted about it too. That the reason that I felt like I ordered them before everything happened because I wasn't sure. I
was hella paranoid like right away and started not going out, and like my friend Liam sent me a link to these masks as they were on sale.
It was like week 1.
It was just barely happening, and I was like, "Can we get one of these, please?"
And it was funny because I remember ordering 2, but I guess I ordered. No, I remember ordering 1, but I guess I ordered 2. And you see, there's the filter in the back. I'm actually gonna have to put this back and wash my hands again because
we just wore them out.
Yeah, this was worn out yesterday, so this is considered contaminated. If you guys, I'm trying to like kind of make sure that it's all documented. You all understand what this means. After touching this, I now have to wash my hands really quickly, before I touch anything else in the house because this is over there on our nightstand table.
He's avoiding touching inside it as well right now, like.
Yeah. This is over there on our nightstand table for like 3 to 4 days before we fuck with it because if we're going out, it's considered contaminated. So, but I just wanted to show you guys, there's a little filter spot that you can slot in, and it's just a bicycling mask, which is really nice. I'm gonna go put it back.
Yeah, I felt so much safer. I felt so much better, which is like probably kind of risky in and of itself, like feeling emboldened like that, but
there's definitely a warning about that on it. That, like when you get a mask, you're not supposed to use it like a protection. It's just supposed to be a precaution.
Exactly.
But it's definitely like you can feel when you're breathing through a proper seal. You can feel like what that proper seal is doing.
There's resistance. You
can feel the resistance in, and then with these ones they have vents, so you can feel how easy it is to blow out comparatively. And that was really nice, but it's just crazy, you guys, because it feels like we shouldn't have to go about it this selfishly and this crazily, you know what I mean? Like, I would have been fine if we were all wearing the proper, normal fabric or paper face coverings and just wearing them properly over your nose and mouth so that your mucus and your breath is not getting out on the whole fucking world around you.
But people fundamentally misunderstand what it's even for. Like, I don't know if they...
It's a respiratory virus, you guys. It's a respiratory virus.
I think it has to
breath.
do with religion. And
yeah.
I know, it's like a leap, but...
Go off!
But no, okay, so here's why. And spirituality, in and of itself, like humans have this propensity for ritual and representative magic. Like, we like objects that represent things.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this weird, I think, correlation in our, like, ritualistic monkey brain where it's like, I wear... Yeah, yes!
Yeah.
Like, exactly.
I have my
mask. You
mask.
have it with you, and it's near your face, like, it'll protect you from the invisible enemy, which is what they're fucking calling it.
They are calling it that, and that actually does go not only to where the president has been speaking a lot to, is to this weird like pseudo religious, but also way like liberal thing. I don't know what the fuck is.
I don't even know.
Either way, the whole idea that I think is being proposed is that like the experts on COVID and the epidemiologists and the scientists who have spent their lives like studying this kind of shit, that they're actually just like priests of some other religion. Like science is a different religion.
It's like dogmatism.
That's not based in fact and like actual fucking shit that we observe in the universe. It's really weird.
Right, it's not metaphor.
Yeah.
And metaphor is important. Like, don't get me wrong. We clearly need allegory as a communication tool, as a bonding tool. Like, we need stories that represent something.
Yes.
Which is fine, but we have to be able to then separate the need for that psychologically and socially and emotionally, and the need for objective reality as well as we know it.
Yeah.
We need to be able to separate these things, because otherwise you get people wearing masks like good luck charms and not really thinking about the reasons that they're wearing them in the first place, aside from, like, I'm going to put this thing on so I can get into Walmart.
That's really what it
That's
was.
not the point.
That was the overlying theme of Walmart.
It was.
Every single person, it felt like. There was like maybe 2 or 3 other people, but you could feel it. When there was like 2 people that I witnessed that were definitely taking it about as seriously as we were.
Sure.
And they were like, as soon as we got anywhere near each other, we all looked at each other like, ooh, stop. Okay, let's move around each other. And then they were like, and the eye contact is there. We are all taking this very seriously.
On the same page.
Other than these 2 people, and it was fucking full yesterday. It was full, and the shelves were quickly emptying. Other than the 2 people that I witnessed, everybody else had this fucking attitude of like, I'm only wearing this so that I can get into the store. I think this is bullshit and I don't need to worry about it. And it was just like, oh man, there were people with like, they had the paper ones like the doctors wear, but they had cut them so that they would like poof out so that they were more comfortable, I guess. But now your breath is just pouring out. You might as well not be wearing a mask at that point. There were people like China said with shit over just their nose. There were people with just their nose.
That was a weird one. That was the weirdest one I think I've seen so far. It was it was weird because he had it like rolled up like and tucked up underneath.
It's especially sad because you have so many options these days. Like there are a lot of really cool face coverings. The other day, I wore my wrench mask out to meet with Tandy because I didn't have. I just worn my other mask. I hadn't washed it yet. And Tandy wanted to come over right after I was like out of the shower and re-decontaminated. So I went over to our area next to the door that's like all the contaminated area, and I put on my contaminated clothes and I put on my fucking wrench mask from Watch Dogs, and I went out and wore that because you can wear anything as long as it's covering your face properly. And properly means containing your breath.
Yeah.
Within a localized area of your head. And while you're doing that, while you have this crazy fucking barrier of breath, you're still making a cloud around you 6 feet in radius, 6 feet away from you.
That could be carrying this deadly virus.
Of your breath. I don't know.
You might not even know it.
How the fuck?
You might have it and not even know it.
And it's so crazy that people like don't. I mean, we haven't been tested, so both of us are operating under the assumption that we have it.
People legitimately seem to think that it is a government conspiracy. I'm like, of all the actual government conspiracies, like this you think is that? Why don't you pick a real one? We've been trying to tell you about the real ones for fucking decades. What?
Yeah.
Like,
and even even if it was, then your brain should logically go back to the last time that this happened in the early 1900s, and you should go, oh, that one was also probably, and then your brain should go, but that one also fucked up a lot of people, and this one could also fuck up a lot of people, so who cares where it started, let's deal with it right, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Unless you think it literally doesn't exist, in which case you are...
That's the big one. That's the one that I'm worried about, is the people that are like, meh. Or, there's this crazy disconnect somewhere too, because I feel like most of the people that we've bumped into or seen in public, they believe that the virus exists.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there's a disconnect between that and I can get it, or I might have it and I can spread it to someone that will die. I can die from it. It's very serious. I should take it seriously.
More than one step in the future is too much. It's too much for people, it would seem.
That's kind of what's going on I'm seeing. Yeah, as most people do not think. They think like maybe one step ahead. Definitely not 2. Certainly not 3. Meanwhile, some of us are out here trying to think as many possible steps ahead as we can, because
Right,
that's
in the
what
worst
human
case
intellect
scenario.
is for.
Thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
You know it's okay. Like, it's stressful. Don't get me wrong. That's true.
That's and that's
Thinking
what that
about shit is tiring.
that's what that cognitive trade-off thing was with the apes. Was
Yeah.
like that was what we've given up. So apes can do the crazy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we can't because we have the ability to perceive potential consequences very, very far into the future. Like right now, I could tell you potentially what might happen 5 and 10 and 15 years into the future. Other creatures on this planet can't do that. So why don't
Corvids can.
Corvids can, but why aren't we using that
Whales
ability? I'm saying it's an exceptional skill.
It is. No, it is. And most of our species seem to not entirely have the ability to do that.
Huh.
That seems to be clearly.
I mean,
Obviously, not all
I feel like they have the ability.
great
There's
apes
just
traded for that function. Or maybe they didn't use it and it became vestigial again.
no. I honestly I think that's letting the corruption of consumer and capitalist culture off the hook a little bit too much, because
Sure.
I think that consumer culture and let everyone else do it for you ism.
Yeah, you don't think that would have a fundamental effect on the evolution of a human being?
Yeah, that's true.
Fucking A,
That's
it
true.
would.
That makes sense.
That's generational
I guess that's
training and trauma that is like
in a way that does make it like a natural process of our
genetic
species.
memory and like many generations of brainwashing to this very specific. They don't want us to be able to think broadly and deeply and compassionately for other humans, because if we did that, we would be like, wait a minute, this is fucked up. Why are we doing it like this?
Isn't it a trip when you think about the fact that capitalism and communism and socialism and Dadaism and all the isms, those are all actually natural processes of the human race because they're happening? Like, just because they exist, it proves that that's naturally something that humans would do.
And this is our gift as a sapient, sentient entity. That's the gift of sentience, is the ability to choose. And I just don't get why you wouldn't choose the kindest thing. Why?
Or at least
why on earth? Why? I cannot.
Or at least the most readily indicated thing. Like there's things that should be so
we overcomplicate
clearly.
everything that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing as an evolved creature, like choosing violence or like choosing the hateful route. I can't. That is such an unevolved way of behaving.
Choosing exclusion, as though there's a potential predator bigger than us.
The us and them.
Yeah. And you know what that comes down to? I think there's still this weird fear in a lot of humans that maybe there is something on this planet that is more of an alpha predator than us, and we still need to be very careful about other humans becoming a liability to our survival. But there's no, like, we are the fucking biggest threat on the planet. Like, we don't have to have that. That's a vestigial human fucking instinct. Like,
it truly is the us and them. It's like, it's why people get all weird about like the outfit of the enemy, you know? And like in every weird depiction ever, the like the bad guys are always like punk teenagers. Like they've got like the mohawk and the spikes. They've got the bad costume. Like
there has to be a unifying feature to all of them to make them not just one individual person that you're dealing with,
to
but
make them not us. It's the other.
Yeah.
That's I think the crux of that. Like we are so obsessed with the costume of otherness that we forget that we are the monster. Like look at what serial killers look like.
Yeah.
Historically, functionally, in real life.
Normies.
Not as we imagine or like romanticize a serial killer to be or look like, but they look like some fucking guy, like your neighbor.
Or anyone.
And they are often a pillar of their community, and often religious, and often like what so then I think that concept is so scary that the enemy might look just like us that we can't even. We have to put an other costume on it. Like we have to, and so then it looks like the black guy or the punk kid
but then
or
also
the Mexicans or whatever.
But then the other thing is, it also it forces people to, while there's like fucking repressing that fear, they're also forced to deal with the fact that they are worried that the enemy looks just like them. That they might be the enemy, and in fact we all are
That's
our own
exactly
enemy.
what I'm saying. They're terrified. They're fucking horrified by that concept.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a trip. Fucking weird shit. I'm so stoked to watch the marble racing tournament. We're gonna watch some of that. I don't know. I just wanted to live stream some stuff. So that's C19 Diaries, and I don't know what of that is gonna make it in. This is gonna be rad. Bye. Bye. That's a chunky boy.